Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Swipe up, episode 199. This is the show where I share my opinions on current events. Things are going on in the world, and I have opinions on them, and this is where I do that. And then later on, after I post on the internet, people will cry and whine and complain in my comments, which I enjoy. I enjoy feasting on the tears of those who are too fragile to exist in a world where I have opinions. But let's get it started, shall we? WNBA star Brittany Griner has been sentenced to 9 years in a Russia prison on drug charges. I mentioned the story when it started, when she was first arrested in Russia for having a vape cartridge of weed on her, which at the time, and still would say, was her bad. Probably shouldn't be traveling to countries where weed is extremely illegal. Maybe get it there, wherever you're traveling to. But as many basketball stars do, will play in leagues in other countries during the offseason, and I believe that's what she was doing. But while traveling, she got busted with some weed. And, you know, this story is horrible. She shouldn't be in prison for 9 years for having an extremely small amount of weed. But also, this story is a story that could easily be about somebody getting arrested in Texas for weed. There are many places in the United States where people are regularly arrested and imprisoned for having weed on them, for having any amount of weed. A plant that is responsible for 0 deaths in the history of humanity. It is one of the safest compounds that you can ingest. Meanwhile, aspirin, alcohol, and even water can easily be consumed at a rate that would kill you. It is impossible to die from consuming too much weed, yet it is demonized. And it's demonized specifically in order to put people in cages. That's what Russia's doing, and that's what like 40,000 Americans are in prison today in this country, not in Russia. In the United States of America, there's about 40,000 people in prison for weed-related charges. And it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And another story I saw compared to this one is that there was a white woman who got busted in Russia for weed and received a much lighter sentence, far less time in prison and far much smaller fine compared to Brittany's prison sentence and fine, which again is exactly the same that we see in the United States. We see how similar the United States is to Russia, imprisoning people for no reason because of a plant, and people of color receiving much harsher sentences than white people. Both things the exact same in Russia and in the United States. We also see how the police treat people in Russia. We see how the police treat people in the United States. And yet we pretend like we are so much better. Like we live in such a free country. It's like so delusional, so many people in this country, of the reality that we're living in. The reality that we are living in a fascist state. In a reality where the police and the military are the most funded aspects of our society. Education, homelessness, children, poverty, all of those things, nah. Medicine, nah. That's all socialism. We need to invest in police. We need to invest in the military. Meh. It's ridiculous. It is disgusting. And, seeing this happen to Brittany, it literally could have happened to her in Texas. Now, she probably, because she's an NBA star, WNBA star, probably wouldn't have... She would have had more leverage in the United States, most likely. Or the cops would have just killed her. Cops do that all the time in the United States. They just kill people and get away with it regularly. So who knows what would have happened if this took place in the United States, but it wouldn't have been much different than what's happening in Russia. And her whole situation is really more of a political bargaining chip. Like, I don't know. Like, Biden says he wants to exchange prisoners for her. But it's like, we have 40,000 about people in cages in this country for the same reasons. It's like, maybe empty out some of our prisons of people that are in there for non-violent drug offenses, for people who are arrested for having a plant that's never caused a death in human history. So I don't know. She finally got her sentencing. Who knows? Like, it's going to be, it's a sad situation. Who knows what Russian prisons are like? But, you know, not that American prisons really treat people with a lot of humanity anyway. And it's just, in more instances, the story in more ways highlights the similarities between Russia and America than highlights the differences. Like, people that are only offended that she's being arrested in Russia but don't have a problem with the fact that people are regularly imprisoned in America for the same thing. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. So anyway, hopefully good. Like, I want the best for her. It's ridiculous that she got arrested to begin with. She shouldn't have, like, this is just us. For everybody out there who's traveling internationally, maybe don't travel with weed, especially in countries where it's super illegal. And I know there's a lot of comedians that love talking about how they snuck weed in to this place or that place, but that could easily be them. That could easily be comedian locked up in prison for 9 years because they had a vape cartridge on them, because they thought they were going to get it through, right? So they can, you know, put it on a stand-up special. But anyway, let's take a little break from the Ray Taylor Show to promote my live art streams. That's right, I am an artist as well as a podcaster, and I paint live every Thursday at 4:20 Pacific time. Head on over, the best place ever for streaming, youtube.com/inspired disorder. That's right, every Thursday at 4:20, you can watch me paint the many faces. Every week, I paint 7 new faces of abstract portraits, ink on paper, and you can watch that happen. You can hang out with me while I listen to a classic episode from one of my favorite podcasts. Head on over to youtube.com/inspired disorder and check it out. Say hi, let's hang out, let's have some fun, and let's paint some faces. Now let's get back to the show. Let's move on to some good news. A jury orders Alex Jones InfoWars to pay $4.1 million to the parents of a child who was killed at Sandy Hook. And I think the major, I think there was, like, in addition to that, there's like $41 million in total that he is charged with paying, I believe. But, you know, Alex Jones is doing what all Republicans do, and he's really trying to get his audience to pay for all of that. He probably has zero, just like Trump, has zero intention of paying those fines himself, despite the fact that we saw how much they make at InfoWars. But the interesting part, in addition to him being found guilty for being a lying piece of shit, is that the phone records that his lawyer turned over to the parents of the Sandy Hook victim, the 2-year phone records that was turned over, have been submitted to January 6th, because Alex Jones, very tight with all of those Republicans that were responsible and contributed to the January 6th attempt to overthrow the government. You know, Alex Jones, very vocal person on that side. And I'm sure had a lot of juicy information in those texts. Apparently, some child pornography was part of the files that were obtained from his phone. So hopefully, that leads to further issues that Alex Jones is going to have, further charges he's going to face. And during this trial, it was shown that he already perjured himself, as stated by his text messages. So, hopefully more bad things. Hopefully this is only the tip of the iceberg for the justice that will be sought for Alex Jones and all of just the disgusting aspects of that horrible, worthless human. It's just insane how much he profits off of pushing just the worst kind of beliefs and false conspiracies, which he's done his entire life. There was a radio lab that investigated his early life from school and how he started at a young age making up stories. And like there was a true event, like how he wraps a morsel of truth in a story of lies in order for his conspiracy theories to feel as if they're real, right? There's aspects of truth to a thing, but then he wraps those truths in massive amounts of lies in order to construct a narrative that suits his purpose. It's how most conspiracy theories work. That's why people who defend Alex Jones are like, oh, he's actually right about some things. It's like, yeah, most like aspects of a conspiracy theory have truth. It's just generally the way the truth is explained in the conspiracy theory they jump through a lot of hoops. There's a lot of red yarn that is needed to complete the connections of all of the things of how complex a conspiracy theory could actually come to be. And it's ridiculous. It's like so transparent unless you're like sucked into it, or unless you're somebody that like is like proselytizes the thing, like as if it's like a religion, like I am the knowing one of the truth and everybody else is like silent blind sheep, and I must guide them to what the truth is, to what Alex Jones says and tells and uncovers as the truth teller that he is. And he's not. He's full of shit. He's trying to sell you supplements. He's trying to get you to pay for his crimes that he made. He's trying to, like, all he wants is your money. He wants your attention and your money. That is it. He doesn't care. He's not a truth teller. If he cared about truth and justice, he wouldn't care about your money. But just the same as some mega church pastor who wants another private jet, all they care about is your money. They sell you bullshit for your money. It's all he does. And people like Joe Rogan that support him, that defend him, that act like Alex Jones is some genius performance artist, right? Like if Joe Rogan's children were killed in a mass shooting and Alex Jones said that Joe and his daughters were just crisis actors, I would love to see how Joe Rogan would defend his good friend Alex Jones. But Joe doesn't seem to have any problem with the parents of the Sandy Hook victims and what they've had to go through with Alex Jones's bullshit and now having them be attacked. Imagine having your child being slaughtered while they're at school. But on top of that tragedy, having some asshole like Alex Jones convince a massive amount of people, millions of people, to then further attack you and claim that your child never existed, that you are just an actor, that this is all bullshit. Like, imagine having to go through that hell. Not only having your child taken away from you at school by a gunman who has access to guns, because we live in a country where we do way more protection and give way more rights to guns than we do actual human beings. To have your child taken away because of the lack of gun laws, the child no longer exists in the world, but then you yourself are being attacked and told that you are a liar, that you are an actor. That is the type of person that Joe Rogan is a big fan of and applauds his creative creative performances. Has zero problem with it. It's absolutely disgusting, and it's clear that they both agree with a lot of the same bullshit. Joe loves having Alex on his podcast because it does great numbers. There's a reason why Joe gets paid $100 million a year from Spotify. Because he's able to bring in big numbers by having his good friend Alex Jones, who he's been friends with for decades. You know, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. It's not surprising that Joe Rogan hangs out with a lot of disgusting people. A lot of comics that are accused of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, child predators. Alex Jones. Like, really disgusting people. Not surprising. Not surprising. And I really do hope that this is only the beginning for Alex Jones. I hope this is only the beginning. But I understand the world that I exist in. And I understand that justice rarely comes for people with massive amounts of money. And if he can find a way out of taking any responsibility for all the horrible things he's done, he will take it. Whoever's friends with Alex Jones, be prepared to find yourself underneath the bus, because that is where he will throw you at every opportunity. Maybe go back and see all of the communications you've had with your buddy Alex Jones and all the funny things that he sent you via text message. Because guess who has that information now? Anyway, Alex Jones, there really needs to be more of these disgusting humans found out, uncovered, and just kind of like exposed. Just fucking exposed, because they are disgusting humans. And I had like old friends that I remember them loving InfoWars. I don't know if that's what they're still into, but it's sad. It's sad if like people that I used to have, like, I'm at a place where if you are at all into this, even if it's like a fun, fascinating thing to just be into, casually into conspiracy theories, you know, and you find it entertaining, like, but you actually believe that they're true, like, I can't. I no longer am willing to just be associated with people that live in a different reality where people like Alex Jones massively profits off of attacking everything and everybody that is fictional. Like, he uses fiction in a way to attack people, and it's disgusting. So we'll see. Hopefully more horrible things for Alex Jones. Moving on. Cops let a woman go free after she showed her quote-unquote white privilege card. It was a Trump-loving Californian visiting Anchorage, Alaska for a MAGA rally last month. Showed a local police a novelty white privilege card after she was pulled over for swerving in her lane. Oh, just got taken off of TikTok. I wonder what that one is. You like, see this quote, you like my white privilege card, she says, who is a Filipino, asked an officer, Nicholas Bowe, while holding the card that said, white privilege card, trumps everything. But instead of citing or ticketing the woman for failing to show her driver's license, cell phone video taken by the motorist shows officers had a laugh, took a selfie with the woman, and let her go. Using racism as a joke way to get out of ticket, like, just shows how racist the system is. Like, they think it's funny. Like, she thinks it's funny. He thinks it's funny. But it worked because white privilege does exist, and because that cop knows that she's on the side of white supremacy, even though she's Filipino, she still upholds and supports white supremacist views, which are the views of Trump, which are the views of the Republican Party. Like, just because you're a person of color doesn't like magically eliminate the fact that the Republican Party and the Trumpers are constantly attacking the laws of every marginalized group in this country. And just because you were a person of color doesn't mean that you're not supporting those viewpoints. I don't know. It's just sad. It's just so sad. It's really sad to see people of color support Trump and support Republicans, because they're like so blind to the fact that they are just destroying their livelihood. They're like their own worst enemy. And it's disgusting. I'm really curious to see why I just got kicked off TikTok. Let's take a little break from the show to promote The Many Faces. That's right, I am also an artist. I do ink paintings on paper of abstract faces. A new face, a new painting gets released every single day over at inspireddisorder.com. So head on over to my website to purchase original artwork directly from the artist. Also, there are prints available for select images. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com, buy original art, buy prints if that's your jam, if you want 8x10 prints on high quality paper. Also, if you're looking to wear some art, there are shirts available with original artwork by myself. Select faces from The Many Faces are also available in t-shirt form. You go to inspireddisorder.com, you buy original artwork, you buy prints, you buy shirts. You're supporting an artist directly. And if you're the type of person that likes to invest in NFTs, there are also NFTs available for select faces. Go to inspireddisorder.com now. And now let's get back to the show. All right, moving on. Short one there. Moving on, some movie news. Warner Brothers Discovery has canceled the release of DC's Batgirl. Despite being nearly finished, the $90 million movie will not release in theaters or on HBO Max, which it was scheduled to do so. Like, not a movie that I was excited for. Most DC movies that come out are pretty garbage. I liked the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn Suicide Squad. I thought that was fun. I liked Joker. I thought that was fun. But all the Zack Snyder stuff is pretty garbage. The Batman was okay as well. Like, there's some okay stuff. Nothing like transcendent. Nothing like blowing my mind. I thought Joker was probably one of my favorite of the DC properties that have come out. But yeah, this is crazy, because they release bad movies all the time. Like, especially DC movies. Like, there's a lot of bad superhero movies that constantly get released all the time. Movies that are bad come out on HBO Max, come out in theaters all the time. And they already spent the money. So it's not like they're saving money. It's just like, and sometimes people like the bad movies. I haven't seen Morbius, but I've heard it's bad, but I know there's people that absolutely love it. I know for a fact I hate most Zack Snyder films, but people absolutely love them. Like, bad movie, the Blade franchise I just recently reviewed. People absolutely love the Blade sequels. I think they're pretty garbage. So it's like there is an audience for bad movies just as much as there's an audience for good movies. And if it's a movie that was only intended to be streamed, like, out of curiosity alone, I could see people signing up for HBO Max. And even if they didn't like the movie, would realize that HBO has a ton of really good movies available through their service. So, like, it's a piece of bait that would at least bring people to your streaming service. Unless the movie, like, is really racist and offensive in some reason, but even it seems like the casting was multicultural. The directors seemed like they, I don't know their background, but it doesn't seem like a thing that was whitewashed, but who knows? Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Discovery and just bought Disney, which is a horrible thing. Anytime there's media consolidation, it's not a good thing. Disney buying up properties is not a good thing. And a lot of things have been removed from HBO Max after the acquisition. So it's like, are things going to start disappearing? It's like when Disney buys stuff. When Disney buys Fox, there's a lot of stuff. Like Disney owns Miramax. And Miramax produced a lot of gritty stuff that Disney doesn't want to associate with their brand. So you're just not going to be able to find those things. Right? There's a reason why you can't find the original Old Boy anywhere. Because I think it was because it was released to Miramax in the U.S. and Disney owns Miramax. And Disney's not going to associate itself with Park Chan-wook's Old Boy. Are you kidding me? That is so far. Like, Disney doesn't want to do anything that's above PG-13. So I don't know. It's interesting, but also the DC fan base, like what they were able to do with Zack Snyder's The Snyder Cut. Like they're pretty like vicious fans, and you know, I could see this getting released in some way. Who knows? Who knows? It's an interesting kind of a story. You don't really hear about a movie, like even bad movies, if anything, like they get pushed back usually. It's so rare that you hear of a movie just getting shelved completely. So I don't know. It's not a movie that I was even really aware of being made. I think mildly aware that it was a Batgirl movie. If I had never read this article, probably would have never known. You know, I would have. Plugged into that. I would have at some point heard somebody into movies talking about the fact of this, but it's not a movie that I was looking forward to on any level. Right? This movie could have come out, and unless it got a lot of like positive feedback, I probably never would have even watched it. But I'm curious if it got leaked, like that the X-Men movie that got leaked before it got released. That was a horrible X-Men movie. You know, it got leaked without the special effects finished. I watched that just because I was interested. Let's see why it was so bad. But yeah, interesting thing. Warner Brothers, like it'll be interesting to see what happens to HBO, which is the streaming service I love. I think they have a bunch of great movies, but now that Discovery Plus is taking over, who knows? Who knows what will change? But anyway, let's do some shout outs and get out of here, shall we? Shout out to BuzzFeed News, shout out Motherboard Vice, shout out Vice News, and shout out Rotten Tomatoes. But most importantly, shout out to you.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.